Hello, and welcome to this Whodunitville review of Agatha Christie's Towards Zero, Episode 1 of the 3-episode miniseries. This BBC One series was adapted by Rachel Bennett from the 1944 novel of the same name. Rachel Bennett is probably best known for N.W. from 2016 and Bellamy from 2012. Towards Zero was broadcast on BBC One in 3 parts, starting on March 2nd, 2025 until March 16th, 2025. The cast includes Angelica Houston as Lady Trevelyan, Oliver Jackson Cohen as Neville Strange, world-famous tennis player and ward to Lady Trevelyan, Ella Lily Hyland as Audrey Strange, ex-wife of Neville Strange, Mimi Keene as Kay Elliott Strange, Neville's new wife, Jackie Clune as Mrs. Barrett, Lady Trevelyan's cook, Grace Dougherty as Sylvia, orphan ward to Mr. Treves, the solicitor, Jack Farthing as Thomas Royd, Neville's disowned cousin, Clark Peters as Mr. Treves, loyal solicitor to the Trevelyan family, Matthew Rees as Inspector Leach, Anyana Bassan as Mary Adden, companion to Lady Trevelyan, Alexander Cobb as D.S. Miller, Adam Ugle as Mac or Arthur MacDonald, and Khalil Ben Garbia as Luis Morel. If you go online and try to look up any information on this TV series, you'll be inundated with criticisms about the changes that have been made from the original book. These criticisms range from honest concerns to outright nitpicking of picayune things that the critics think will make them sound more like a Christie expert. I think that both the series and the novel can be enjoyed without lessening the importance of the other. The novel is a classic piece of Christie craftsmanship to be admired for its construction and detail to the world in which it was set, while the series can stand proudly on its own amongst the myriad of mystery TV series that fill the modern mystery marketplace. Perhaps it would have been better not to have been announced as Agatha Christie's Towards Zero, and instead just released it as Towards Zero, a BBC One adaptation. After all, the novel has been adapted before as part of the 3rd season of the Miss Marple television series produced by ITV, in which Geraldine McEwen played Miss Marple, and Miss Marple is nowhere to be found in the original novel. Where was all this uproar then? I consider the changes to be more cosmetic than anything else. The plot certainly remains the same. Characters' complete omissions can be put down to timing for a short series, only 3 episodes, and varying characterizations can be understood as giving the writer, Rachel Bennett, a fair chance to view the characters through a fresh set of eyes, thus giving them, the characters, another, more modern layer of depth that Christie might have purposely neglected out of a question of pacing issues. Now that we've gone through all that, let's get into this first episode, shall we? This episode starts with Clark Peters as Mr. Treves, the family solicitor, giving a soliloquy about his fondness for murder mysteries, while also critiquing their rigid formulaic structure. He bemoans the fact that they always start with the murder, when actually they should start at the point when the idea of the murder first enters someone's mind. He calls this the point zero. One could almost hear Agatha Christie herself saying this to a friend or even reporter. Perhaps she had grown tired of the formula and maybe wanted to write just dramas where she could focus more on the intertwining lives of the characters instead of clues. Mr. Treves then continues to philosophize about fate as images of the scandalous divorce of tennis star Neville Strange flash on screen. Images that show us Audrey Strange, the soon-to-be ex-wife, Kay Elliott, the soon-to-be new wife, and the courtroom filled with onlookers. From there, Mr. Treves, in true Christie-esque fashion, including a dash of requisite paranoia, questions whether or not a lone sinister figure bent on drawing the disparate group of characters toward murder, or the point zero, is at work. The camera pulls back and we finally see that the setting for this soliloquy is at the future dinner party with most of the primary characters surrounding the table. The next scene centers around a dusty, dimly lit courtroom full of men in wigs and a gallery full of gawkers who ooh and ah precisely where you think they should. There's little in the way of innovative writing when it comes to the courtroom scenes, with all the men behaving condescendingly towards Audrey Strange and Kay Elliott, in between the characters basically info-dumping the exposition to that point. I really don't like these courtroom scenes, even though I would have preferred less of them. Upon watching the entire 3 episodes, I can say that this role as a plot point becomes significant later on. Eventually, the setting moves to the manor house at Salt Creek, Devon, which looks out over the ocean past what I will describe as a sort of Chekhov's cliffs. There we meet Mary Aden and Lady Tressilian, played by the legendary Angelica Houston, whose performance as an elderly invalid with a bullish head was so spot on it left me melancholic counting all the years that had passed between when she played the sexy Morticia Addams until now. As the story progresses, we are given only slight tidbits of characterizations from Thomas Royd, Neville's cousin, who is found to be frequently writing to Mary, despite Lady Tressilian's objections of him, Arthur MacDonald, who ingratiates himself into the service of Neville Strange, Sylvia, Mr. Treves the lawyer's young ward, who has been thrown out of her boarding school apparently for stealing, and Inspector Leach, who at this point has been ground down so much by life that he has no more fire in him to challenge Mrs. Tressilian when she constantly sends for him with irrational requests to quieten the hotel that sits just below the manor. There's always a moment that comes in mysteries when one or two of the protagonists make the wrong choice. This might come in the form of staying overnight in a presumed haunted house, welcoming a stranger into the community, or in the case of Point Zero, having a newly married man and his wife stay at his childhood home for the weekend, right alongside his ex-wife. A recipe for disaster? Maybe. But everything seemingly is very civilized leading up to that original moment at the dinner table and Mr. Treves. This first episode ends on a shocking moment, and I don't want to spoil it, so let's just say it's the reason for the warning at the beginning of the program. Overall, I enjoyed Towards Zero. I liked the complexity of the characters set against the obviously Agatha Christie built world. As a Christie fan, I can also see how some admirers might consider it too typically Agatha Christie, with very little to make it stand out from other adaptations. Included in it were the standard English manor, isolated and full of people who hate each other, a long-suffering detective, a familiar scandal amongst the elite class of British society, an aged patriarch or matriarch with a mind to change their will, all classic Agatha Christie story hallmarks. It's all of these same things, though, that I enjoy about Christie's books and adaptations. I've come to expect them in some form or combination in her stories, even though some stories didn't use any. And the stories, while becoming comfortable, are still engrossing. That's probably how I would describe this first episode. Comfortable in its familiar style, but also still very engrossing. If you liked this review of Agatha Christie's Towards Zero, please consider hitting the like button or also perhaps subscribing to the channel. It would mean a great deal to us and would ensure that you receive all of our new videos. Thank you.